Have you ever had an issue where in Ableton, you have a really big session and you try to load up an Omnisphere or you try to load up some synth and there's latency. When you hit a key, the sound doesn't play right away. Even if you do reduce latency when monitoring and all that stuff, nothing really works. Why I use GigPerformer is when that happens and when there's a lot of latency in between when I push a key and when the sound comes out, GigPerformer is like having a hardware synth on your computer. So let me show you all how it works. I have GigPerformer open. I'm gonna make a new audio track. Let me just set up my audio interface. All right, so I'm gonna turn on Keyscape. Boom. If I hit record, there we go. Now, everything I do in GigPerformer records in real time. So if I have a huge session here, watch this. I'm gonna set the buffer to 2048. And then watch when I load an Omnisphere up. Check this out. So I have Omnisphere here. Let's turn off GigPerformer for a minute. So when I hit an Omnisphere, there's a little delay. There's a little bit of a delay. Once we start adding plugins to the master, for example, one plugin I like is GoFoss Master. Not GoFoss Live, but GoFoss Master. The problem with that, it adds latency. Not a ton, but some. Say I add Isotope Ozone 9, for example. Now there's a good amount of delay. You can hear when I'm hitting the key, there's delay. Where GigPerformer shines is it goes directly into Total Mix. It goes directly into this Total Mix mixer. So there's no latency. Yeah. Absolutely no delay. Just to review, my buffer size in Ableton is 2048 samples, so the buffer is super high. So if I hit Omnisphere, which is loaded directly into Ableton, there's a hella delay. It's unplayable right now. It's unplayable. There's so much delay, you can never play it in time. So let's turn that off. GigPerformer, no delay. I have it set to 16 samples, which is ridiculously low. Let's set it to 32. That's a little more reasonable. But the point is, when you have a huge session in Ableton and the latency's crazy, you have GoFoss on the master, you have Ozone on the master, buffer size is high, you have 100 plus tracks. GigPerformer is able to run in tandem with Ableton and be at very low latency. And I find with an RME interface, I'm good at 32 samples, even if I have a huge session open. It's a major cheat code. That's the first thing I love about GigPerformer. You can load up multiple synths. I have this. I also have a reverb here. So I hit verb, just this little button, and it runs through a reverb. If I want to open it and check the reverb, boom, I got Valhalla right there. If I want to open Keyscape, it goes on my second screen, but here you go. It opens up Keyscape. And all the wiring is here, so you can wire it yourself. This is my MIDI keyboard going into all these synths and effects. So I just loaded up a few things that might be go-tos when I'm working. I have Virtual Mix Rack by Slate, some analog hardware emulation plugins, all of this. And you can open multiple ones. Multiple synths at one time. And of course you can load your patches and go in and tweak them. What's dope about this is as you turn them off, your CPU goes down. So you can see it's not using much CPU at all. If I turn them all on, it's only using 10, 12% of my M1 Max CPU. So that's one thing I love about GigPerformer. Now, the next thing I love about GigPerformer is gonna blow your mind. We need to talk for a second. I bought Apollo in 2019. The reason I bought Apollo was because I wanted to track at low latency and I wanted to run the UA plugins on vocals. Now I have a lot of hardware, so I don't necessarily need to do that when I'm in the studio. I have it going through my hardware CL1B, distressor, preamp. So I don't necessarily need that for my live stream workflow right now. But a little context, I had auto-tune for UAD. So if I wanted to track with auto-tune, I had auto-tune. I had the Softtube CL1B which was next in the chain in the UAD console. And then had the LA2A and on, a bunch of different plugins to treat the vocals. Where that mainly came in handy is when I was traveling. What GigPerformer can do is literally the same exact thing the console does. It lets you track at very low latency into your DAW. Just how I did with the synths, it lets you do it with the mic too. This is an absolute game changer for my personal workflow. I don't know about you, but Apollo's great and everything. UA, the way the plugins work and you have to have it plugged in at all times, it just wasn't really working for me. So RME is a much better fit for me. So when I'm on the go with my baby face and say I want to stream live, say I want to cut vocals with auto-tune, everything is right there in GigPerformer. But I'm going to show y'all the mic. So right now I am running my microphone through GigPerformer. So this is low latency running through these effects. Again, Ableton has a huge buffer size, but you want to run your stuff through effects and track in directly without hearing delay in the headphones. Here you go. Turn this up, you get high end on your vocals in real time. Boom. Auto-tune, now you got auto-tune. Virtual mix rack, now you have vocal processing, just like that. And you can go through your effects and everything, whatever you want to put on there. CO1B, that's obviously too much processing, but you get the idea. Turn that down a little bit. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. I like the hardware way better. But anyways, when you're on the go, this is the perfect setup. Reverb, mic check 1, 2, right there. I want to add a electric guitar sound to it. There we go. Now it's running through. Mic check, electric guitar, THU. Boom, reverb, everything. So you get the idea. Basically, this is exactly the same as console. It's low latency monitoring directly into your DAW, no matter how big the Ableton or FL or Pro Tools session is. You're hearing it in real time. It's recording in real time. Pretty freaking amazing. Another thing I have GigPerformer set up for, if I click this is for guitar. So another thing about Apollo that I loved is if I wanted to run a guitar directly into the interface, I could. I had console and you plug in the guitar and it's good to go. And I have some dope UA effects. But again, if you don't have your UA interface on you, you can't do that. For me, I would rather be in the RME world. So I set this up with GigPerformer. I have THU, SVTR, Guitar Rig, S-Gear, and Pro Q3. So I can choose my tone right here. If I want the THU tone, I got that. This is a bass amp, Plugin Alliance, Native Instruments Guitar Rig, S-Gear, which actually came free with the Babyface. And then on the end, I just have a FabFilter Pro Q3 to clean it up. And then right here on my effects, I have reverb. Again, this is all wired in the back end here. I set this up how I wanted. In GigPerformer, you can even build your faceplates. And then I have the synths I showed you. And then I have addictive drums and knock. So if I want some live sounding drums, I just load up addictive drums, run it through knock, make it slap, and there you go. I have it set up so anytime you hit this button, it opens it up, opens and closes. It's going on my other screen so you can't see it. But that is GigPerformer 4. Somebody in the DM, I can't remember who told me about it, but make yourself known. Somebody in the DM, I think it was on Christmas Eve, was like, yo, try out GigPerformer. Because I was trying the software called Live Professor. GigPerformer is the shit. It's amazing. To simplify it, why I love GigPerformer is it takes the place of UA console and you can do it with any interface you want. It's really that simple. I just wanted to tell you all that. If you guys are looking for a solution and maybe you don't want to go the direction of UA or live tracking with Apollo, UA is dope. Let's get real. UA is dope. The technology they came up with the DSP and everything is dope. It's just not for everybody. And if you want to track low latency, I just want to let you know you don't need to go through UA. UA makes great gear. They make great plugins. But for me, RME is a better fit. So I just want to show you all that path and that way if you didn't want to go the UA console route. Because I see a lot of people on videos saying, I would go with this interface, but I love the live tracking of universal audio. Well, now you can do it with one piece of software. And as I mentioned, the main takeaway is you can have a very high buffer size in your DAW and a very low buffer size in GigPerformer. Did I lose you? How many of y'all get it? What do you guys think of this?